What's up, guys? Welcome to Daily Dose of Reddit. This is your host, Zach, and today's subreddit is r/PettyRevenge. This story was called Bus Twit. So, there's a woman of a certain age that gets the same bus as me. She could get any of the buses that come to my stop based on where she gets off, but she deliberately chooses the route I take. She's fairly obnoxious, pushing her way to the front of the queue. She won't let people getting off the bus past her before pushing her way on. And she always goes for the disabled/priority seating. As someone with a hidden disability, I try not to judge, but her general lack of bus etiquette gets on my nerves, hence my petty revenge. This morning, there were literally only 3 people waiting for the bus due to another route leaving all of 2 minutes beforehand. Despite the bus pulling up 5 meters past her to where I was standing, she shoves her way to the front. Okay, strike 1. She then barges onto the bus as a clown car amount of people are trying to disembark, to the point where she has to step back. Strike 2. She then doesn't have her bus fare sorted. Strike 3. I squeeze past her and take the disabled seating my gimpy butt needs, and that she's been eyeing. And please note, it's 2 seats, plenty of room for the twit. She huffily passed me and took the seat behind the center doors of the bus. It may be petty, but I can't stand rude twits on the bus who inconvenience other passengers. I wouldn't say that was as much a petty revenge as a petty inconvenience. Where's the revenge? Come on, writer. This story was called Roommate Was Stealing My Marked Leftovers, Made a Chocolate Cake with Habanero Peppers, Labeled it with my name, and Wrecked His World. Title is pretty straightforward, but I'll elaborate. My old college roommate didn't know how to cook or do dishes and didn't go food shopping much. This led to him eating my food, especially my leftovers, as those were prepared meals. I would use my leftovers to meal prep for the week, and told him to stop as it was expensive as well as inconvenient. The behavior did not stop, and he actually seemed to be eating more of my food out of spite. To punish him, I baked a chocolate cake with habanero peppers and mixed the frosting with wasabi. I labeled it with my name in a bold "Do not eat" and waited. This guy has a very low tolerance for spicy foods, so I thought he would take one bite and quickly realize the error of his ways. About 2 days later, him and a couple of his friends got really drunk while I was at work and decided to dig into my food. Somehow, they ate about 1/3 of it before realizing, and when they inevitably went to throw up from over drinking and eating spicy foods, they got hit by the cake a second time. Don't know for sure, but it couldn't have felt good coming out of the back end. When he asked me why I made this monstrosity, I told him I found a chocolate habanero recipe online that I wanted to try. Yeah, he stopped eating my cooking after that. This story was called My Petty Revenge as a Child. I think I was 8 or 9 years old when I did this. My family, along with a whole bunch of relatives, had gathered at my aunt's house. This included several cousins who were older than me. 2 of my cousins, they were brother and sister, were always particularly mean to me. One day, my girl cousin and I got in an argument. I don't even remember what it was about, and she tore up the drawing I was working on. I was enraged and slapped her. Cousin went crying to her mommy and told her I had hit her. I tried to explain that she had torn my drawing to pieces, even showed it to her, but nobody would listen to me. I was forced to apologize to her. Now, my aunt's house had a common play area for the kids, where they kept all their toys. The visiting kids' toys were also kept there. My cousin and her brother had several jigsaw puzzles that they loved to show off, but never let anyone touch. So, that night, I lay awake in my bed till I was sure everyone had fallen asleep, and then snuck into the play area. I quietly opened up each box of puzzles and took just one piece from each of them. I put everything back exactly the way it was, hid the puzzle pieces in my bag, and went to sleep. The next day, I buried the puzzle pieces in the woods behind the house, so no one could find them. My crime wasn't discovered while we were there, because said cousin and her family left prematurely for some reason. However, about a week later, when we were back in our house, I heard my grandmother talking to my cousin's mom on the phone, and then telling my dad about her conversation. Apparently, my cousins had been throwing temper tantrums because they were unable to solve their jigsaw puzzles. I wonder why. Now that is good revenge. Very thorough and very long-lasting. Blow your horn at me? Fine. Here's the story. My family sends me out to gather breakfast for them every morning from a nearby local fast food restaurant. It's a cup of cooked grits topped with a scrambled egg and some sausage, which is basically what we would eat at home anyways, along with iced tea. Due to our busy schedules and being up extremely early, along with some dietary restrictions that I have to tackle for all other meals, having one meal I don't have to cook at a time that even roosters are sleeping is a blessing. And to get to to it, there is one 4-way stop with traffic lights. I had just picked up the food and I was in the turn lane, waiting for the turn light to come up. I have to turn left, so no turning on red. I had turned my head to grab a straw from the passenger seat to put in my drink when suddenly a loud, continuous horn is blown at me. Note, the light had been red and the turn signal was not up when I turned my head to look at the straw. That means in the amount of maybe a second or two, not even enough time to reach for said straw, I had someone blowing their horn at me. Not a nice toot toot tap of the horn to alert me of the change, which I would have then waved as a thank you and go on. No, a full-on lay on the horn like it was a pillow, making it bugle loudly and continuously like a bull moose looking for love. Where I'm from, this is extremely rude. I look up and saw only the turn signal had lit up. The main lights were still red, meaning he hit the horn the second the turn light appeared, and I didn't shoot out like some greyhound chasing the Robo Bunny on the dog track. Naturally irritated at this assault on my eardrums, I look at my rear view mirror and find behind me the jockiest looking McJerkface yelling at me from his shiny silver and chromed truck, which was jacked up on 2 tall wheels, completing the look of, I used too many steroids and now my twig and berries have shriveled up and I need to compensate elsewhere. I'm a short girl in a small Ford Fusion from '08. I'm not intimidating by any means, but I'm a vindictive witch who has no problem being an absolute brat when I'm irritated, and it's the butt crack of dawn and I haven't gotten to have my morning tea. I'm cranky, I'm hungry, and I'm caffeine deprived. Cue my somewhat unintentional revenge. So, in my natural, irritatingly bratty fashion, I decided to putter along through the intersection. The traffic isn't heavy as it's so early in the morning and I don't have anyone behind me aside from this pumped up red-faced limp noodle screaming at me from behind his windshield. So, I am not hindering anyone else as I pull my little stunt. Of course, this Mumpsimus, with his one brain cell bouncing about his skull like some enraged crested gecko, can't stand how slow I'm turning. He revs his engine and tries to pass me in the intersection. For a second, my heart was beating in my throat because that was terrifying, as he almost sideswiped me trying to whip around me. I thought that my revenge was over and pretty much thwarted, and I thought of a few choice cuss words and insults to this psycho twit-diddle who could have easily killed me. Then, I heard it. Insert police siren sound. The Dr. Zoidberg-like scream of a cop car siren accompanied with the bright blue lights as a cop shot across the intersection past me, thankfully just barely missing me as I sat there half stunned. As I turned into the lane I had been going into, I rubbernecked as far as my little neck let me without being dangerous, as the cop car pulled the guy over in front of me and got out of the car and clearly gave our earthworm Jim lookalike a hell of a talking to, I'm guessing. I then turned into my neighborhood, cackling like a crazy woman at the insane coincidence of it all, as you rarely see the police around my area and I hadn't even noticed the cop in the first place. I don't know if he got a ticket, but I like to think he did, and while it started out as petty revenge, it became a karmic slap to the face for being a jerky McJerkface. This individual has it right. Do not do your own petty revenge when you can get the police to do it for you. Obviously, I'm joking, the police have way better things to do, but it's something to keep in mind. You know the concept. This story was called Take My Food, Suffer. I'm a junior in high school, female if that matters. After second period, we have something called flight time. This is basically homeroom. You do your work, eat a snack if you want, watch videos, talk to your friends, whatever you want, really. I also bring the same thing, a baggie of thinly sliced sausage, Ritz crackers, and cheese. Like really nice, expensive cheese. I made these into little sandwiches, and this holds me over until lunch, because I have the last lunch of my school. It starts at 1:30, so you can tell me why I would be ravenous by then. There are 2 girls I've known since 8th grade in flight time. One of them, C, is one of my best friends. The other one, A, is full of drama popular girl. She's always been like this, since middle school. These 2 girls sit right next to me, C on my left and A on my right. For the past week or 2, I've been preparing my snack and eating it as soon as I sit down. C politely asks for a cracker and a slice of meat, and I say yes. A has gotten into the habit of taking fistfuls of my food after she asked for a cracker and I said yes the first day. She just assumes she can take my food every day because she asked once and I said yes. It's gotten to the point where she will take the rest of the bag after I made a little sandwich or 2, taking all my crackers, meat, and cheese. It really annoys me, respectfully, but I knew I couldn't just say no and take it away because she'll take it as a personal offense and go full Queen be. Instead, I decided to teach her a lesson. I usually bring mild/sweet sausage, Italian. It's a nice, sweet, meaty flavor that I adore. Apparently, A thinks the same, so yesterday night I decided to switch it up. Cajun andouille sausage is smoked and stuffed with spices such as cayenne, garlic, paprika, and thyme, a much different flavor from the normal sweet meat I use. As you can tell, this is the meat I chose to bring. I also soaked the slices in jalapeno juice because I think it tastes better. I brought it all in and started preparing my food. A walks in and immediately zeroes in on my food, shoving her hand into my baggie as soon as she got close. She grabbed a handful of slices and shoved them into her mouth like a starving piggy. Just what I knew she was going to do. Did I mention? A despises spicy food. She's the type of girl who thinks bell peppers are too hot. So when her mouth is filled to the brim with this hot, spicy meat, her eyes started to water and her cheeks started to turn red. She ran across the room and threw it all up, tears streaming down her face. Like I said, it wasn't even that hot. It's just jalapeno juice and spices. She ended up calling her mom and going home. She hasn't touched my food again. Doesn't even look at me when she walks in the room. Honestly, in my opinion, that wasn't really revenge. It was more of being antisocial and mean. I'm sure she would have stopped reaching for her food if she would have said something, but instead she made this poor innocent girl suffer. I mean, obviously she shouldn't have been presumptuous and reached for food every time, but still, that's a little far. Repay our hospitality by throwing away our keepsakes? Karma sends her a dead snake. This petty revenge wasn't on purpose, but I also didn't stop myself from laughing hard. That was part of the revenge, I guess. Anyway, here's the story. So, when I was a teenager, one of my mom's friends needed a place to stay for a bit while she was moving, and while she was with us, this lady decided to help us get rid of all of our stuff. We weren't hoarders, and our house was fairly clean, but my dad is very sentimental, and we had 2 sheds full of memories from when we were babies. This lady went through all of it and got rid of anything we weren't using currently, saying memories belong in your heart, not in your hands. My mom let her do this because she's also a jerk, and my poor dad was too non-confrontational to stop it. His eyes just bugged out like he wanted to scream at her, and he left so he wouldn't see. This went on for weeks, and all us kids hated her for it, especially since she made us help. Nothing like being forced to throw away your baby handprints and old Christmas ornaments. But it wasn't being used, so out it went. Now, about a week before she got there, a big snake had gotten inside our house through our toilet, and my dad, after he killed it, had put it in a Ziploc bag in the freezer to teach us how to make snakeskin belts later. We lived on a farm, so this wasn't weird to us at all. With all the stress of my mom's friend moving in, we all completely forgot about it. And of course, we had no way of knowing that she would feel comfortable enough in our home to invade our space to that extent. After this lady had stripped the 2 sheds of anything she considered useless, she moved inside of our house, starting with the kitchen. She started pulling things out of the freezer to check for expiration dates, and happened to lay her hand on the bag with the snake. She pulled it out, thinking it was just a bag of frozen meat, and let out a blood-curdling scream. She collapsed on the floor of the kitchen and sobbed like she was the one who had been violated. She continued screaming about how it was the most disgusting thing she'd ever seen, and we were disgusting to have that in our freezer. She threw it in the trash, and I was sad that we wouldn't get to make a snakeskin belt with my dad. None of us, except my mom, had any pity for her. It served her right for invading our privacy like that. When that lady realized we were all laughing at her, she went up to her room and didn't come out for 2 days. Best 2 days of her whole stay. Yes, using dead things to exact revenge. That is one of the first steps to necromancy. Be careful, it's a slippery slope. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.